Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very first gathering for women who practice TWIM or who are interested in the meditation path. And today we've come together particularly to honor Sister Khema and to share our experiences and have a first meeting really to honor her legacy and how she's touched us in our lives. And we're going to begin with a very short period of meditation. And Sindhu is very going to kindly lead us through that. And then we'll move into, I'll give a little bit of an introduction, and then I'll open the floor to everybody to contribute. So let's make ourselves comfortable, and Sindhu, it would be great if you could begin a meditation for us.
Maybe before that, I'll just like to recite the Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma
Sambuddhassa.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato
Samma Sambuddhassa.
Sit comfortably. Grab a cushion if you require. Take a moment to just be here. Relax the tension in your head. Observe your body. If there is any tension in your shoulders, relax. Relax your legs. Smile. Bring up the feeling of metta. Let yourself immerse in the feeling of loving kindness. Take a moment and radiate the loving kindness to Sister Khema. If your attention has moved away into your thoughts, Allow the mind to radiate the loving kindness to 6 directions. Recognize if your mind gets distracted. Relax, smile, and come back to loving kindness. Smile with your eyes, smile in your lips, smile in your mind. Keep radiating the loving kindness to all the beings in all the directions. Radiate the loving kindness to all our teachers, to our family members, to our friends, and to all the people who have supported us to walk on the path of Dhamma. Smile and gently open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I feel very refreshed and after the practice. It's really beautiful. So, in the spirit of the meditation that we've just done, and Sindhu so beautifully invited us to reflect and give thanks to all our teachers. And this is such an important reflection for us, because without the guidance and without meeting the Dharma, there isn't the opportunity for our own personal transformation, and there isn't any change. So it really is a very important opportunity to really feel that gratitude. And it's a time of passing of inevitably, and so it's very good for us to spend time reflecting on the opportunity that we've had, particularly at this time with Sister Khema and how she's touched our lives, and to recognize the enormity of her contribution. And it really is very, very significant. The meeting, as she did many years ago with Bhante, and recognizing the extraordinariness of what he had been practicing and had rediscovered, and then putting all her energy behind it. And one of the things that's been coming out over the last few days is a lot of recognition about her energy. And I think all of us who met her and learned from her will be very familiar with that enormous vitality and enthusiasm, determination, and commitment. And it got channeled into the support of the Dharma. So we're very, very fortunate, we're very blessed, in fact, to have to be kind of benefiting from all that she put into her life with the Dharma and her time that she spent with Bhante. So today really is about us coming together and sharing ways in which she may have touched our lives, and how the Dharma has therefore made a change and impacted us. And one of the things that I'd reflected on was just how much she'd hoped that she could bring women together. And so I felt that this is something that I'd had an idea about some time ago, but it came back into my mind now. And I thought this is the moment to explore gathering together in her honor. And so I think probably the first thing to do is maybe go around and just introduce ourselves to each other, and just very simply, and I'll start, and then we can go around and do that, and then we can come back and share some stories about Sister Khema. And to begin, I've got one I'd like to share that maybe will make it, hopefully may open it up for everyone else to contribute. So as you probably already know, I'm Sarah, and I live in the UK, and I've been on this path for probably some time without realizing it. And then actively on it when I recognized it. And so I can't actually remember how many years ago it was. I don't seem to keep an exact time log of dates when I first met Sister Khema, but it is quite a few years ago. So it's when my children were much smaller, and so they've also benefited from the changes that have, I think, been quite beneficial in their family life, because I've shifted my perspective, and that's made for not a perfect family life, but a much more easily flowing one. And I can say more about that, but that's my little starting point to introduce myself. So I'm going to ask May next to introduce yourself, and then you can just go round.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm May. I currently live. Currently I live in Sydney, not in Australia. Not in the city, but just outside of Sydney, Australia. Let's see. So I attended the TWIM retreat in Penang, Malaysia, in January 2020. So just before the pandemic hit. But for us, we only had a 7-day retreat instead of the usual 10 days, because I think the organizers couldn't get the venue for 10 days. And it was by chance as well. It was very funny. The story is, I was back in Malaysia visiting family, but was kind of looking to do something else other than visit family. And then I just Googled retreat in, Penang or something within the dates that just before I have to fly back to Sydney, and it so happened that it fitted. So it's by chance. And then after the retreat, came back to Sydney. I can't remember exactly how I continue to keep in touch, really. I can't remember exact, it's not too long ago, but I cannot remember the exact chronological event. But some friends came to Sydney. I think Alice knows them, Bharat and Cynthia, and then they wanted to do like an online group, and then one thing led to another, and now we have the Sunday sessions that people can dial in. We have some regulars there as well, and somehow it's still going. So yeah, that's it, I guess. Mute.
Yep, sorry. Maybe Alice, could you introduce yourself?
Hi. So I'm actually from Melbourne, but I'm also a Malaysian. So I was referred to Bhante Brahmsi because I had an experience during my meditation, and an abbot of one of the monastery here referred me to Bhante Brahmsi to search him up online for the answer. And I remember it was when I did that on the first attempt, on one of his talk, he gave me the answer to the problem I had. So I was very impressed. And after a while, I found a book called Path to Nibbana. And the minute I read the book, I had a reaction. And so I decided to contact Dhamma Sukha David straight away for an online retreat. And I don't think he had an online retreat at that moment, but I was so desperate for an answer. I insisted that he must help me. And I'm so far away, and he says, okay, fine, you just sign on and write to me. And I did that. And after that, he suggested that I should have an in-person retreat with Bhante. And I still remember very clearly, though it was like 2019, the minute that I said, okay, I would like a retreat with Bhante Ramsey. I have a lot of Dhamma groups over Malaysia and other countries. I think it's one of the Dhamma groups from Malaysia suddenly share a retreat opportunity with Bhante Ramsey in Malaysia, but it's Genting Highland. And I immediately signed on to it, registered, paid everything. And then I went and told my friends that I'm joining the retreat. And the funny thing is, the minute they asked me where and how and all that, I cannot locate the source anymore. How did I even get that? Until today, I'm still puzzled. So when you want something enough, your mind is strong enough, and the opportunity just comes. So I flew back to Malaysia specifically for the opportunity to meet up with Bhante, and from there I met Sister Khema. My first impression of her was that she's filled with energy, right, and very jovial, but she's kind of want to do many things at the same time. So, and in that retreat, she didn't have an assistant. I noticed that she was trying to do everything at the same time, including the setup, organizing the chair and everything. I was like, that's impossible. And she's a nun. She's not supposed to do all that. So I thought it was a good opportunity. I volunteered myself to be assisting her whenever I can. And in that opportunity, I get to know her a bit better. And she likes to talk, and that's great, because she tells me a lot of stories, like how she met Bhante. She told all of us, in fact, how she met Bhante, how she had that dream. Did she tell you about her dream? Yeah. And her relationship with her auntie, her children, and how what she wants to do. She wanted to write a book at that time for children, which I think is the mind game, or maybe it's something else, I don't know. But the mind game book to me was a great deal, and I'm very happy for her. And she is very, very different. Most Theravada monk or nun will portray a very straight profile, very stern, very serious. She has definitely broke some of the protocol, but in a nice way. Like, I realized she can sing, where she sings a lot, right? And my first reaction was that she's not supposed to sing. But then when she sang and it was Dhamma, I realized, oh, that's okay, because other traditions sing as well, and she did it so beautifully. And it's like, wow, was she a singer before? Those were the thoughts I still remember of her. And the other thing I really enjoy is that, though it was my first meeting with Bhante, but we kicked off very well. And I promised him I will visit Dhammasukha in May. And that was a specific time. As soon as he go back, I was supposed to fly and meet him there. But it didn't happen because of COVID. And after that, so many things. So during our interview, we have this interview every day, right? During our interview, it's quite funny, because always Bhante will want to talk to me and ask questions about other things and not just the Dhamma. So from 10 minutes, we will run through the longest period, and then Sister Khema, very funny, she's a timekeeper. She said, time's up, and keep telling Bhante, time's up, you always overrun your time. We can never finish today. And then Bhante will look at her, and then he'll look at me and say, You know, his eyeballs will go up. You know, they're such a pair, you know. They I mean, somehow they work together very well, despite sometimes they are like dog and cat. So yeah, they're such a funny you know, teacher and student. And I love all the stories they share about them, how Sister Khema, who used to volunteer and drive Bante around so that she has the opportunity to ask all the Dhamma questions, and how she progressed over time. Very, very impressive. So impressive that most monks I met, I probably remember a few years, but I cannot remember, you know, what they said or their personality. But with her, you just have to meet her once and you register her personality. She's a charisma, very charismatic, very, very different. My thought in my mind for the last couple of days were really where she has gone to. I mean, did she able to, you know, be with Bante? I think I'm not the only one, because I met a abbot from a monastery yesterday, and she asked me, how is Sister Khema? I said, Sister Khema passed away, you know, on Thursday. And she said, oh, yeah. I said, the timing is perfect, because, you know, they're going to have the ceremony for the stupa, and I was like hoping that she'll make it. And I think they did include her. And so her comment was, she wanted to be with him, didn't she? And I was like, yeah, that's what I feel too, you know. So it's a big loss for the community, that we lose both teachers at the same time. But on the other hand too, I mean, I think I feel sadder if they're not together, you know. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Alice, for sharing. And perhaps we'll come back to some of the, particularly I wanted to mention the Never Mind Game book, but we'll come back to that. And just, I'll ask Sindhu next to just introduce a little something about yourself, and then we can go around with stories.
So, as everybody knows, my name is Sindhu and I'm from India. And my introduction to Dhamma came when I got married, and my perspective of meditation was completely different. My husband was completely meditative, and I was quite opposite. I was a worldly being back then. So there was so much of discomfort happening in my life, and whatever changes were happening because of my marriage. So I was not accepting those changes. I was fighting with them. I was suffering. So, and my brother-in-law, my family member who was already practicing meditation in the Vipassana style previously, but he was searching a lot on the internet and he found Bhante Vimal Ramsey. So he introduced us to him, and gradually, when my husband used to hear to Bhante Vimal Ramsey's talk, oh, meditation can also be fun. So I started smiling, I started practicing. I didn't actually do any online retreat before COVID or during COVID, but later on, when my friend suggested me to, why don't you do a physical retreat or an online retreat? So I got registered myself for an online retreat with Madhusudan sir, and I did twice or thrice. I kept doing, and then when I got an opportunity to do a physical retreat, I took the opportunity. I went, and now things are quite okay. There is always anicca, so that's okay, and I'm comfortable accepting things for what they are, and just smile, let go, and it's good to be where we are now. That's it.
Thank you so much. And Indu, are you happy to share a few words about yourself and where you are and meeting Sister Khema and the Dhamma. Just wondering, perhaps you can't hear me right now. So, Samyuka, would you like to say something at this point? Okay, so perhaps in that case, I want to come back to something that I was reflecting on after the session that we had yesterday. And it was about Sister Khema. I don't know if you remember this, but she had an opportunity to lead a group of Christian nuns in a retreat. And this happened not so long ago, maybe a couple of years ago. And my reflection around that was it must have been a very it was a very inspiring experience, but it also brought her life full circle, because she'd also been a seeker in different traditions in her life, and she'd had a long period of being a Christian. And what happened was an opportunity occurred to teach a group of Christian nuns, and I think they were in the Catholic faith. And in fact, they weren't actually ordained, they were in a training path. And so it had been, I didn't know how it actually came together, but she had an opportunity to guide them in the period running up to their ordination. And the results of this were incredibly fruitful. And I think there was very substantial progress by this group of women. And this was something that was very precious for her, to be sharing the Dhamma. But as we know, that what from many of her talks, and also what was expressed the other day, what was important to her was sharing about the human condition and a process of practice that's beyond a label. And this group of women really made a very substantial progress. And that, I think, was very affirming, both in terms of the teaching, both in terms of the progression that women can make on the path. And there is no impediment about being a woman that means there can't be progress. And I think this just encapsulates something that was important to Sister Khema around the female voice, and about the capacity of women to progress and to find the path and walk it and travel it and live it and share it. So this is something that I wanted to reflect on, and also mention in the context of bringing this group together around a female voice with the Dhamma that was important to her. And sometimes I think the female voice can have a less dominant expression in the Dhamma, and certainly I feel within myself a leaning towards support rather than lead. And I think Sister Khema was a very strong role model about someone who will lead within a female form. And I think that's something for us to land as a direction, that's an opening that is possible. I'm not saying that, I think Sister Khema also models support, and I mentioned that at the beginning. I think her support was invaluable in the practice that developed and what was shared through TWIM. But she also had an energy to lead. And I think this is something that's important for us to take forward as a possibility for ourselves. And the other aspect around women coming together is around the possibility of a female community, of a female space. And just about that, I think, I think that's reflected in her joy at being able to lead a women's retreat. And that's something I know she'd expressed to me in the last few years about really wanting to have a space for female retreats. And I just put that out there as a question mark because it hasn't been in my experience. And I've actually been very happy to be in a very balanced space, which is non-gender specific. And I appreciate the Dharma from whichever voice it comes from. But I have a question mark around what would a female Sangha and community feel like? How might it be supportive, and how might it be a place for sharing and motivating and inspiring? And so just putting that out there, maybe we can come back to some of the more personal stories about Sister Khema in terms of the way she touched our lives and what's inspiring and motivating from what we've experienced. And before I just hand it over, one of the things I was thinking when I think Alice was saying you did an online retreat initially, certainly that was my introduction to Sister Khema, and I did several. And she actually initiated the online retreat programs. There wasn't any online sharing of TWIM. And this has become a complete mainstay of how the Dharma is being shared at the moment. And there's a wonderful flowering of online retreats. And this is the kind of thing of her creativity and her originality there to look for ways in which to share the Dharma. So online retreats are a real gift. They've brought very diverse people together and given us a program in which we can explore. And that's something I think we can reflect on her gift to us, as there's a continuing legacy through all the TWIM guides that are now sharing in this way. So I'm going to open it up again to ask you if you would like to share any more. And I'm thinking maybe, Alice, you mentioned the dream of Sister Khema, and I'm not sure whether everyone will have heard of that, and that might be an interesting clip, if you like, to share from her life.
Might remember it better than me. How many times have you heard it? I only heard it once in 2019. I hope I have not missed out anything or mixed up some of the stories. But I think she was telling us that she had a dream when she moved to this new place. She had a dream that she'll be cycling along a road, and she remember specifically the name of the road. I can't. Do you remember the name of the road? No. Okay. And by going along the road, she'll meet someone like a monk. And when she woke up, she told her friend, and her friend was like more superstitious than her, was telling, hey, there's something going on. And she said she laughed because she doesn't even have a bicycle. And the moment she said that, ding dong, the doorbell rang, and she opened the door, and her friend came with a bicycle and said, hey, I thought since you're new in town, you might need this bicycle to get you around. And so So that was very interesting, and to me, that's a sign. And so one day she decided to go out cycling, and true enough, she ran along the street, and she can recognize some of the sign. And she didn't exactly see the first attempt. She didn't exactly see the name she was looking for. So, but she turned into a road, and there was something like a monastery. Was it a small monastery? And when she rang the doorbell, a guy came out quite rudely, asking her, "What do you want?" And she felt that, oh, this guy's so rude. And obviously they asked her to go away, and she did. She thought, oh, maybe a dream is just a dream, But on her way back, she then came across the exact name in her dream. A name of the road, the lane, I can't remember. And so she immediately turned into the road, and until she reached a little house, and she parked a bicycle outside, and she rang the doorbell. And this time, a very sweet man came out and asked politely, "What can I do for you?" And so she thought, well, she wants to learn meditation or something like that. And the guy invited her to go in with her bicycle, because if she left it outside, it can be stolen. And as soon as she get into the building, they said, "Hold on a minute, I'll contact the person in charge." And when the person in charge came out and looked at her, and he said, "Oh," and then they chit-chatted, and then she said she wanted to learn meditation, and said they told her that the teacher, well, you have to come back because the teacher is only teaching on certain date. And she came back. She met Bante, and then Bante, she was telling Bante all the pain, and then Bante was telling her, I'm going to pull you out from hell, and teach her meditation after that. And I think to me, it was not so much of the meditation classes that she had, but rather it was, I was overwhelmed with the fact of her dream. And then she told us that after a month later, she asked the person in charge, she's a monk, why when she saw her, his first reaction was, "Oh," which is an awkward reaction. And the monk said he had a dream too, but he thought it would be a man, and she's a she. So he was surprised. I don't know whether I get it right or not. Did I get it right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the specifics, but the way you're describing it, it seems familiar to me. And I only heard the story once too.
Yeah. I like these kind of things because I believe in, to me, these are not miracles. It's just showing that the signs are there and it's meant to be. And I did share my own story with Bante and Sister Khema, and Bante reaction was, go with the flow, at least go with the flow. Any sign you see, go with the flow. And so I've been trusting my instinct a lot as I was progressing to in the path. Yeah, so I always like stories like that, so I can remember what she said on that part, and I've been sharing that with quite a few friends of mine. On her meditation part, she meditated under the tree and all that. I'm not there, so I don't think I'm able to meditate under a tree. I'll be fearful of all the snakes that she's talking about, or spider. So yeah, okay.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you. I think, Sister Khema always shared wonderful color from her life. And, we have a lot of, I think her Dhamma talks were just infused with so many personal anecdotes. She was very unafraid of sharing. We have a phrase in this country about what you see is what you get. What you get is what you see. There's a transparency around her stories, and she was very open with her giving of anecdote to help us. So does anyone else have anything that just, springs to mind that's touched you from what you've heard or time you spent, even, whether it's not all of us. I didn't actually meet Sister Khema in person. So my connection has always been through an online presence.
Oh, okay. Can I just ask, any idea about the monastery that she wanted to start in Budapest? Did she get a chance to do that at all? I know she was ill already. I mean, she was in hospice when she was in Budapest. But before she went there, I mean, I think in one of her talks, she mentioned that that's one of the last things that she wants to do. Any idea?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything around that. I think things moved probably very fast, and the people that she was sharing with took huge care of her, and she lived. They organized an apartment for her, and at some point, I think she was living with some of them, and then when things progressed, they organized for the hospice care. So I think there was there was a really wished intention to have a community and a base and a place to develop retreats, but the progression of her illness basically took things in a different course. And it sounded from the sharing yesterday like it was an enormously rich time, actually. A group of people around her that she shared a lot with, and what Pierre shared around what she'd given them in these final months, and how she had been basically through the end of her life, was an incredible gift for them. So I think the richness of that time hasn't manifested in foundations of building in a material sense, but it has manifested a very spiritual foundation, and for me that's about as rich as it can get, and maybe buildings will follow at some point. So would anyone else I'm just aware of time, would anyone else like to share anything?
You were about to say something about the book.
Yes, good idea. I will. I do in fact have a copy of the book, and I've only dipped into it.
We have a reading group in Australia. Every Thursday we have a discussion group. So we started last week. In fact, I announced it before she passed away that we were going. We started last week, reading her book.
Nevermind.
Sorry.
We started Nevermind game.
Yeah, we started last Thursday. Yeah. So that's our plan in honor of her. So the minute we heard that she's very ill, I already proposed that we switch from reading Sudha to reading her book. So that's the first class was very good. Everybody was enjoying it because it's a dialogue pattern. So it's very interesting. And then John was so cute. He says, "Hey, I would like to be the Q." And then Irene then be the Khema. So next week we'll try someone else. So it will be a dialogue like that. It was much more interesting than one person reading it. I think everybody was very impressed how easy it is delivered, and the different perspective of it is not so, some people, when you tell them the 6 you need to do the 6 steps, and they get tense up with the 6 step. as if that is something very difficult to do. Well, the way she delivered it is just basically mentally tell yourself, never mind, and smile, and relax. So that's actually makes the book much more easy to share with, especially she didn't clinch too much on Buddhism, didn't clinch too much on, it's religion thing. She make it basically everybody needs this, everybody can do it. So I actually offered the book to my daughter, to my sister, and all that, who are, who wouldn't give a second look when you mention the word Buddhism, but they're like, oh, never mind, games, kind of interesting. So, well, that's what's is happening in Australia.
Thank you, Alice. And it's really interesting to hear you're doing that, because that was one idea. If this group wanted to meet again, that we could look at the book. So you're already doing that. So that's just something that we could think about for this group. I imagine the time zone will be challenging to join the group that you're already in. We might all be asleep.
No problem. It's just like your own group. I mean, it's worth reading it. And those that need a hard copy, if they are over in Australia, I don't know whether Metta Center actually have a cupboard of the books.
Yes, I brought them back from Penang.
Great. So Penang printed it or what?
Yes.
Can you can you email me the Penang Center, because I go to Penang quite often as well? Then maybe I want to sponsor printing.
I can email you because they still have many copies at the printer. It's actually the printer. I was planning to contact them because I will be there in January. But if you're going to be there anyway,
not now, because I just came back. But if you let me have the contact, and we can take turns to bring the books back.
That would be nice. Sister Jenny at the printers. Yeah, we can. I'll email you.
Give me the contact, because I always wonder in Malaysia who is supporting, because they have
it's a bit disorganized, and I'm a bit struggling due to I'm all over the place. But yeah, I can email you if you could help. We have another book that's also a little bit stuck with another printer. But I'm mindful of the time. I've just sent a reminder for the next session. It's just because we share just one Zoom meeting and link. So usually one or two people hop in just about 2 or 3 minutes before.
And I've realized I've joined this meeting as Hugh, and he needs to.
Okay. Sindhu, you have something to say just now?
I just have a short story and complete it in 2-3 minutes. When I started listening to attending the Dhamma talks Wednesday and Sunday Dhamma talks by Sister Khema, the way she used to explain it in the natural whatever flow, and the examples get stick in my mind. Just before getting the information about Sister Khema as passing away or she's ill, I was using her example to explain to one of my friends or family members. If there is a glass of energy that you're having for a day, and the same amount of energy you have each single day, but you waste it thinking about, if you use certain amount of energy thinking about the past, then the energy has been left. And if you have some energy that you are using it for your future, then the energy left in the present time is very less. Instead, if we let go of thinking about the past, let go of the future, and just use that whole energy, whole glass of energy for this particular day, then it would be great. And rather than thinking about past or future, just using the whole energy for this present moment is more important. I think I keep recollecting this example a lot of time, rather than being in the past or future, wasting my energy. Can't even change anything from the past or future. Still, we keep thinking. So I just keep, okay, let go. Don't not think about the past. Don't think about the future. Rather be in present. I think that that simile I say is so, like so apt. It's so simple and so easy to explain to anybody who is in trouble. I use it often to my family, to my friends.
Very
That's
good.
I just want to, yes. Thanks to Sister Khema for giving us those kinds of examples.
So thank you. I think that's a wonderful one and a great reminder for us to stay in the present and safeguard our energy and not discard it or let it seep out and drain away. And it's yeah, you're right. It's a really wonderful image that we can embody and to help us look after ourselves. So I think we've run out of time, but I'd really love to know if you would like a group like this. It doesn't have to meet very often. It could be a once a month kind of group. And maybe the way to do that is to put it in the on the post advertising this meeting, or you can find me in that group and message me, and we could have a think about how we might take it forward. But for now, I think we need to close and then you can join the next meeting if you wish. So thank you all so much for coming. I've really enjoyed spending this time together and honoring Sister Khema. And I'm sure there's a lot more that we can share about her going forward, which would be very supportive for all our practice and our path. So I'm going to ask Sindhu again. Would you like to guide us in the closing prayer? That would be great.
May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear stuck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.